weird.
So weird. It really is like the whole country's hypnotized. And I just think this is a perfect storm of things that are happening all at the same time.
Which, by the way, how annoying is The View getting? God, they're insufferable, that lot, aren't they? It's just a side effect.
Sunny Hostin, the polished lawyer turned TV personality who has spent years dissecting legal cases and delivering searing social commentary from the lofty perch of The View, now finds herself in the crosshairs of one of the most sensational scandals to ever hit daytime television. Once the untouchable voice of reason, the arbiter of moral justice armed with a legal degree and an unshakable air of authority, Sunny's meticulously constructed image is unraveling faster than anyone could have imagined, and the reason? Not her own missteps, at least not directly, but the alleged actions of her husband, Drea Emmanuel Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon now accused of being a central figure in a sprawling RICO case that reads like the plot of a Hollywood crime thriller.
According to the documents, he knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries.
But let's not sugarcoat this. The accusations aren't just some minor clerical error or a misunderstanding over billing codes. No, this is a full-blown federal lawsuit that has Emmanuel Hostin's name splattered across court documents alongside nearly 200 other defendants. The charges? Insurance fraud on a scale so massive it makes most white-collar crimes look like amateur hour. We're talking about fraudulent medical services, unnecessary surgeries, and alleged kickbacks disguised as dividends, all tied to an intricate web of financial dealings that reportedly funneled millions into the wrong pockets. And just in case that doesn't sound messy enough, the insurance company filing the suit claims this isn't just fraud. It's an epidemic, one that has upended New York's livery insurance market and bled hundreds of millions from the system.
Sunny Hostin, her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit.
For Sunny, whose entire career has been built on her ability to explain the law to the masses, this scandal hits like a wrecking ball to her credibility. After years of moralizing about justice, inequality, and the failures of the American system, she now finds herself uncomfortably close to a legal storm that has no easy escape route. It's the kind of irony that practically writes its own headlines. Here's a woman who has spent years wagging her finger at politicians, public figures, and even her own co-hosts, now caught in the gravitational pull of a scandal so vast, it threatens to swallow her entire career. And as the details trickle out, the questions are multiplying faster than the legal fees.
This is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York. You guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia.
The lawsuit, filed by American Transit Insurance Company, paints a damning picture. Emmanuel Hostin is accused of performing unnecessary surgeries on accident victims, people who may have sustained nothing more than minor injuries from low-impact collisions. The goal? To max out insurance payouts under New York's no-fault laws, which mandate that insurers cover medical costs up to a specific threshold, regardless of who was at fault in the accident. But it doesn't stop there. The lawsuit alleges that the payments Emmanuel received weren't just for his medical services. No, they were kickbacks cleverly disguised as dividends or other financial distributions tied to an investment he held in a surgical center, creating a loop of fraudulent reimbursement that could make even the most seasoned Wall Street swindlers blush.
Of Sunny Hostin on The View, Tom, basically implicating her husband in this type of a scheme.
And the numbers are staggering. The insurance company is seeking compensatory damages in excess of $153 million and treble damages that push the total north of $450 million. Let that sink in. $450 million. This isn't your run-of-the-mill lawsuit. This is financial warfare, and Emmanuel Hostin is reportedly one of the key players. If the allegations are true, this isn't just about one man's greed. It's about a system being exploited to its breaking point, with Emmanuel allegedly operating right at its epicenter.
But it's just, I mean, Pat, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to...
Sunny, of course, has come out swinging. In a fiery statement, she accused the insurance company of running a smear campaign, calling the lawsuit baseless and defamatory. She even promised a counter-lawsuit, complete with a demand for millions in damages to compensate for the reputational harm her family has allegedly suffered. But here's the thing. No amount of legal posturing can erase the optics of this situation. While Sunny may claim that her family is being harassed by a struggling insurance carrier desperate to recover its losses, the court of public opinion is far less forgiving. And when you're a public figure whose entire brand is built on integrity and intellect, even the perception of wrongdoing can be catastrophic.
So we know Sunny Hostin and her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, are preparing for a legal battle to fight accusations that he committed federal insurance fraud.
The timing couldn't be worse. The View, already a lightning rod for controversy, is grappling with declining ratings and an increasingly polarized audience. Sunny was supposed to be the steady hand, the intellectual heavyweight who could navigate the chaos with poise and authority. But now, as her husband's legal troubles dominate headlines, she's become the story. A walking contradiction who preaches justice while living with a man accused of defrauding the very system she claims to defend. And let's not forget her co-hosts, who have remained conspicuously silent about the scandal. Their lack of commentary only amplifies the awkwardness, as if they're collectively holding their breath, waiting to see if this legal wildfire will consume the entire show.
What's best for the people be what's running the thing. We're letting the thing be run by the people that are in power, that are corrupt, that want to keep.
And then there's Joe Rogan, the podcaster and cultural provocateur who has taken this scandal and turned it into comedic gold. While The View tiptoes around the controversy, Rogan has been relentless, using his platform to skewer Sunny and her husband with the kind of blunt, unfiltered commentary that has made him a favorite among his fans. For Rogan, this isn't just an opportunity to poke fun at a rival media figure. It's a chance to expose what he sees as the hypocrisy of the so-called elites. And let's be honest, he's not wrong. The juxtaposition of Sunny's moral grandstanding with the allegations against her husband is almost too rich to ignore. It's the kind of scandal that feeds directly into Rogan's narrative about the disconnect between mainstream media and reality, and he's milking it for all it's worth.
Kooky, and it seems like they're just leaning into it. Like there's no course correction at all. Just leaning into the kooky.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Oh, yeah.
For comedy.
But this isn't just about public perception or late-night podcast rants. This is about real consequences, legal, financial, and personal. If the allegations against Emmanuel hold up in court, the fallout could be devastating for Sunny and her family. Frozen assets, mounting legal fees, and potential civil suits could leave them facing financial ruin. And while Sunny has undoubtedly built a successful career, even her considerable earnings might not be enough to withstand the kind of financial tsunami that a RICO case can unleash. The very lifestyle that she and her husband have enjoyed, the luxury homes, the high-end vacations, the social cachet, could all be at risk. And for someone like Sunny, who has spent years cultivating an image of success and stability, that kind of public unraveling would be nothing short of catastrophic. As the scandal continues to unfold, one thing is clear. This is only the beginning. The lawsuit is just the opening salvo in what promises to be a long and grueling legal battle. And the ripple effects are already being felt. Sunny's reputation, her career, and her family's future are all hanging in the balance, and the stakes couldn't be higher. For now, all eyes are on Sunny and Emmanuel, waiting to see how they'll navigate the storm. But with each new revelation, the question becomes harder to ignore. How much more is there to uncover, and just how deep does this rabbit hole go?
Oh, he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange.
And yet, even as the walls close in, the Hostin family's strategy to fight back only raises more questions than it answers. Sunny's fiery public statements, dripping with defiance, might play well for the cameras, but behind the scenes, the cracks are impossible to ignore. Legal experts are already dissecting the layers of this RICO case, and the consensus is clear. This isn't just a shot across the bow, this is a direct hit. The sheer complexity of the allegations, spanning years of alleged fraud involving multiple clinics, kickback schemes, and potentially fabricated medical procedures, is enough to leave even seasoned attorneys shaking their heads. But here's the kicker. If Emmanuel Hostin's finances are as tangled as the lawsuit suggests, Sunny might not be able to distance herself from this mess, no matter how many counter lawsuits she threatens. The legal implications for Sunny go far beyond her husband's alleged actions. This isn't just about Emmanuel Hostin's name on a lawsuit. No, this is about marital assets, joint accounts, and a financial empire that could be flagged, frozen, and dissected by investigators. If the claims against Emmanuel prove true, and if any of the funds that flowed through their household can be linked back to fraudulent activity, Sunny could find herself in a precarious legal position. Even if she had no direct involvement, ignorance is hardly a shield when you've benefited from the proceeds of what prosecutors might call ill-gotten gains. And let's not forget, this is the same Sunny Hostin who has spent years positioning herself as the voice of ethics and accountability on national television. The optics alone are devastating.
Them, and it's a very serious crime. In fact, it's one of the largest, if not the largest, RICO case in New York's history.
But it's not just the legal and financial stakes that are spiraling out of control. The public fallout is taking on a life of its own, and Sunny's carefully curated image is buckling under the pressure. Social media is ablaze with commentary, some of it brutal, some of it outright malicious, but all of it relentless. Memes depicting Sunny as a courtroom defendant rather than a legal analyst are spreading like wildfire. Late-night hosts are sharpening their punchlines, and the internet's amateur investigators are combing through every detail of her life, looking for inconsistencies, hypocrisies, and anything else that can feed the frenzy. The narrative is no longer about Emmanuel's alleged crimes. It's about Sunny's perceived complicity, her silence, and her increasingly desperate attempts to control the story. And while Sunny might be doubling down on her public-facing bravado, insiders are painting a very different picture. Rumors are swirling about intense behind-the-scenes drama at The View. Producers are reportedly in crisis mode, scrambling to figure out how to handle a co-host who has become the center of one of the most explosive scandals in recent memory. The show thrives on hot takes and fiery debates, but this is a different beast altogether. Viewers aren't tuning in for Sunny's commentary on the news. They're tuning in to see if she'll address her own scandal, and every moment she doesn't is only fueling more speculation. The tension is palpable, and the question on everyone's mind is simple. How long can she keep this up?
Sunny Hostin of The View, who's constantly raging about race and reparations and how bad America is and its racial past and all this stuff.
The stakes are just as high for ABC as they are for Sunny. The View has weathered its fair share of controversies over the years, but this is uncharted territory. The network is faced with a nearly impossible decision: stand by Sunny and risk being dragged deeper into the scandal, or cut her loose and risk alienating her fans and supporters. It's a lose-lose situation, and the clock is ticking. Every day that Emmanuel's case drags on, every new headline about fraudulent surgeries or kickback schemes is another nail in the coffin of Sunny's once untouchable reputation. And let's be honest, daytime television might love a comeback story, but it has no patience for anchors weighed down by scandal. Meanwhile, the legal case itself is unfolding like a slow-motion train wreck, with new details emerging that only add to the chaos. Investigators are reportedly digging through mountains of financial records, patient files, and internal communications. The scale of the alleged fraud is staggering, involving thousands of patients and millions in claims. But the real bombshells could come from the other defendants in the case. With nearly 200 people named in the lawsuit, the chances of someone cutting a deal with prosecutors in exchange for reduced penalties are sky high. And if that happens, if someone provides testimony or evidence that implicates Emmanuel Hostin more directly, the fallout could be catastrophic, not just for him, but for Sunny as well.
Now, he's just accused, and this accused in a lawsuit after some time of investigation could ultimately become a federal indictment.
And let's not ignore the personal toll this must be taking. Sunny has built her entire brand on being a truth teller, a moral compass in a chaotic world. But now that brand is under siege. Her co-hosts might be biting their tongues on air, but the whispers behind the scenes are deafening. How much did Sunny know about her husband's business dealings? How could someone so sharp, so detail-oriented, not see the red flags? These are the questions that are being asked not just by the public, but by the people closest to her. And the longer Sunny stays silent, the louder those questions will become. What makes this even more complicated is the glaring contradiction that Sunny herself has cultivated. For years, she has painted a picture of her family as the epitome of success, discipline, and moral clarity. The private school-educated children, the luxurious estates, the curated social media posts, all of it meticulously designed to project an image of stability and achievement. But now that image has become a double-edged sword. The very affluence that once made her relatable yet aspirational has become fuel for critics who see the Hostins' wealth not as hard-earned, but as tainted. Every photo of a lavish vacation, every glimpse into their opulent lifestyle is being scrutinized for signs of financial impropriety. It's as if the public has been handed a magnifying glass, and they're determined to find every crack in the facade.
Anna went in a different direction. But I love the fact that, Manny is younger, and he's
How much younger is he?
Just a little bit.
He's like 1 year, isn't he?
Like a month or a year or 10 years?
5 years.
It's more than a year. Anyway, it's not about...
And then there's the question of complicity, a word that has been quietly circling this scandal like a shark in murky waters. While the lawsuit focuses squarely on Emmanuel's alleged actions, the court of public opinion is far less precise in its judgments. People are asking, how could Sunny, a former prosecutor with a sharp legal mind, not have noticed anything unusual? Was she willingly turning a blind eye, or was she genuinely in the dark about her husband's business dealings? And if she was aware, even tangentially, does that make her a silent participant in this alleged scheme? These are not just idle speculations. They're the kind of questions that could eventually seep into legal proceedings if prosecutors decide to widen their scope. And for Sunny, whose entire career hinges on her integrity, even the faintest suggestion of complicity could be devastating. But perhaps the most damning aspect of this entire saga is the sheer audacity of it all. Emmanuel Hostin wasn't just accused of cutting corners or bending the rules. He's accused of orchestrating a scheme so elaborate, so brazen, that it defies belief. And at the center of it all is the irony that Sunny, a former prosecutor who built her career on holding others accountable, is now fighting to keep her own life from unraveling. It's the kind of scandal that feels almost Shakespearean in its tragedy, a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris and the fragility of public trust.
It does not look well when your name ends up with 200 people in a RICO investigation. This is the biggest investigation since Giuliani shook the tree and a bunch of mobsters fell out, right? This is big stuff. And so, and thank you for bringing that video. It sure is ironic that she's up there.
And so the question remains, what happens next? Will Sunny be able to weather this storm and rebuild her reputation, or is this the beginning of the end for one of daytime television's most prominent voices? Will Emmanuel's legal team find a way to discredit the allegations, or are we looking at a case that could drag on for years, leaving a trail of financial and emotional wreckage in its wake? And perhaps most importantly, how much more is there to uncover? Because if this scandal has taught us anything, it's that the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deeply it's buried. So, what do you think? Is Sunny Hostin's career salvageable, or is this the kind of scandal that no amount of spin can fix? And what about Emmanuel? Will he take the fall alone, or could this case pull Sunny even deeper into the legal quagmire? Let us know your thoughts down below, and as always, stay tuned, because this story is far from over.